Hola, me llamo Sarah, and today I'll be doing my Exam 3, discussing 4 topics of what we learned in Modulo CS. First, I'll be talking about the preterite conjugation of verbs with spelling changes. So I learned that there are 2 main groups. The first group are car, gar, and zar verbs. So pretty much verbs that end with the following that I just stated. So it affects first person singular, or also known as yo endings. And I have some flashcards to show. So for car verbs, the C conjugates to QU. For gar verbs, the G changes to GU. Then for zar verbs, the Z changes to C. So I also have some example words that undergo these spelling changes when in the preterite. So buscar is a car verb, and so it changes to busque, which, as you can see, the C changes to a QU. And then the next are the gar verbs. So cargar is an example of a gar verb, and it changes to garge. So the G, as you can tell, changes to GU. The next are zar verbs, and almorzar is an example of one of those. And so changes to almorcé, and you can see that the Z changes to a C. Now, the second group affects third person singular, third person plural, and second person formal singular endings. And all of these verbs undergo the same change, which is the spelling change from I to Y. And so if we take the example of the verb leer, in the L-A-O stead form, it changes to leo or leo, and then in the eos as ustedes form, changes to leyeron. And then the next topic are preterite conjugations of irregular and stem changing verbs. So I'll first talk about irregulars, which consists of ser, ir, dar, and ver. So ser and ir go through the same preterite conjugations. So in the yo form, it changes to fui, and then to the tu form, fuiste. The ea, usted form changes to fue. The nosotros form changes to fuimos, and then the ellos, ellas, ustedes form changes to fueron. So to wrap it up, it's fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fueron. And then for the dar verbs, in the yo form, it changes to di. To the tu form, it changes to diste. The nosotros form, dimos. The ellos, ellas, ustedes form, dieron. So once again, to wrap it up, di, diste, dio, dimos, dieron. For ver verbs, the yo form is vi. The tu form is viste. The ea, usted form is vio. The nosotros form is vimos, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form is vieron. So once again, to wrap it up, vi, viste, vio, vimos, vieron. Now that covers the irregular verbs when conjugated in the preterite. So now we'll talk about stem changing verbs. So the first I'll be talking about is ir. So verbs that end with ir, the changes apply to el, ella, usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes conjugation. So it's either changes from e to I or o to u. Now, the next are verbs that end with ducir. So the preterite, these verbs take on a J, and in the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, instead of changing to ieron, as some may automatically think, it changes to eron. So the next, I'll be talking about some specific verbs. So for example, I'll first talk about querer, hacer, and venir. So with these verbs in the preterite, you swap the first vowel or the second with an I. And then for next are tener, andar, and estar. And so these verbs take on preterite stems with uv, so uv. And then for next, it's caber, haber, and poder. So for these verbs, you swap the first vowel with u. So next, I'll be talking about decir and dar verbs. So I just provided some flashcards for the definitions. So decir means to say or to tell. And then the verb dar means to give. And so decir undergoes a stem change of E to I and is irregular in the yo form. Now for dar, on the other hand, it is only irregular in the yo form only. And I provided a conjugation sheet for both verbs. So first let's talk about decir. So decir in the yo form conjugates to, I'll come closer, conjugates to digo. The tu form changes to dices. The el, ella, usted form conjugates to dice. The nosotros form changes to decimos. And the ellos, ellas, ustedes form changes to dicen. Now for the dar verbs, the yo form conjugates to doy, the tu form conjugates to das, the el, ella, usted form changes to da, the nosotros form changes to damos, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form conjugates to dan. And some idiomatic expressions for both of these have the following. I'll list a few. So for dar, if you want to say that, this is in English, you came in and didn't say good morning to me, and you wanted to say that in Español, you would say, usted entró y no me dio los buenos días. And for those, that one consisted of the verb dar. Now, if I wanted to say to talk for the sake of talking in Español, I would say decir por decir, and obviously this sentence consists of the verb decir. Now, the last thing I'll be talking about are verbs that change meaning when used to refer to the past, which also is known as the preterite form. So, first off, I'll be talking about conocer, which the present form means I know someone or I know some place. But in the preterite form, the meaning changes to I met someone. The next verb is saber. So in the present form, saber means I know a fact. But in the preterite form, the meaning changes and it actually means I found out or I discovered. The next is poder, and in the present form, poder means I can or am able to, but in the preterite form, it changes to I succeeded to or I managed to. As you can tell that there is a shift of definitions from the present tense to the preterite tense, and conocer, saber, and poder are just a few of many verbs that do this. And now I have some example sentences for conocer, which will exhibit the different definitions of the same word it will provide, merely based on present or preterite. So first I'll have a sentence in the present form of conocer. So if I want to say I know someone who can help, in Español it would be conozco a alguien que puede ayudar. But in the preterite form, if I want to say I met someone interesting in Español, I would say conocí a alguien interesante. So that wraps up all 4 discussion points. Thank you, or gracias.